Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's tutorial, we're going about the making of this palazzo jumpsuit, but in another fabric print. So if you would like to see the making of this dress, keep watching and don't forget to like and subscribe. So now let's get started. So for the making of this circle palazzo jumpsuit, we'll be needing our Ankara fabric, our lining, our scissors, our measuring tape, our thread, and our chalk. Then you need like 4 yards of Ankara at least. But if you're on a bigger side, you need at least 6 yards. It's better for you to get more than less fabric. So the next thing I'll be doing now is to open up my Ankara fabric. I'll be opening it up for the cutting. I am opening it up without a fold, like I didn't fold the fabric. I am just opening it up like a wrapper. It's just like straight as it comes, no folding, nothing, just opening it up and arranging it properly on my cutting table, that is my ground. So you can see I have already opened up the fabric. So the next thing is to go ahead and start taking my measurements. So the first thing I am going to do now is to come in by 3 inches. Like I'm going to mark 3 inches from the beginning of the fabric to the bottom of the fabric. But I'll advise you go in by 4 inches instead of 3 inches, so you can be able to accommodate your crotch extension in case if you're on a bigger side too. So now after marking it from the top to the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and rule it straight with my ruler. I'm just going to rule it down to the end of the fabric. Then after that is done, I am going to mark another 3 inches at the other edge of the fabric. Just as you can see, I'm still going to mark the 3 inches down, but as I said earlier, I'll advise you use 4 inches so you have enough for your crotch extension in case if you're on a bigger size. And I'll also go ahead and rule it down with my ruler. So what I am doing here is just taking the same 3 inches downwards. Just go ahead to take the same 3 inches downwards and also rule it down. So the next thing you will do is to measure your waist measurements. You will divide your waist measurements by 3. When you divide it by 3, what you get, you will take it round. What I got was 12, so I am just marking 12 at each point, like as if you are making a peplon flea. Just mark it round from that 3 inches end to the other. So I divided my waist measurement by 3 so that it can be able to accommodate my waist. So after that is done, I'm just going to connect my lines together. So since this is a palazzo jumpsuit, I have already subtracted the upper parts of the outfit. So now I am just taking the lower part, the length at which I want my trouser to be. I am just trying to measure it out. Measure out the length at which you want your trouser to be, whether it is 37, 38, but ensure that you also have removed the length for the upper part. I don't know if you get what I am saying. The length of my full outfit is 54, so I removed 17, which was like the upper part, the length of the upper part, like from my shoulder to my half length. Then I am now left with 37 inches, so I am just marking the 37 inches down for my trouser length. So that's just basically what I am doing here. Now that I have already marked out the length at which I want, so I just went ahead and folded it into 2 now, so I can cut both legs of the trouser together, including the front and the back. So I'm just cutting out the piece I'll be needing for the trouser. So what I'm doing here is just to remeasure the length and to see if it is corresponding with what I'll be needing, and it was. So the next thing I'll be doing is to draw the lower part. So for me to get the circular flea, because it's a circle palazzo pant, I'm going to measure from the end of the trouser to the bottom, and that same measurement I'm going to take it round. Like I'm going to ensure that the measuring tape is at the tip, and I'm just going to take that measurement round. So I've already measured to an extent, so I'm just connecting the lines together. I'm connecting my points with a line, with a curved line this time around. So at this point, I noticed that that line was not enough. Like I'll be needing some extra fabric since it's an Ankara print I'm using. It's like 45 inches, so it is not enough. So what I'll be doing is basically to join some fabrics and cut out the flay together. So what I did now was to measure from the top to the bottom and calculated how much fabric I'll be needing. So after I already measured the length and noticed how much fabric I'll be needing, I also went ahead to measure the width too of the part that could not accommodate the circle part that I am cutting. So I went ahead to fold the fabric into four. This fabric is folded into four. Then I measured the width earlier, so I ensured that the fabric I'm folding will be enough. In short, more than, it should be more than. When you are measuring yours, you should make sure that it should be enough and more than, so that you just cut out the remaining one. So my length was around 10 inches, so I just took my 10 inches down. Then I went ahead to just rule it out with my ruler. So this is what I'll be attaching to the lower part in order to join the flay of the trouser. So after that was done, I just brought out the main piece and then opened it up, and I'll be fixing the flay, the part at which I cut out. I'll be fixing it under to ensure that they are matching. Then I'm going to now go ahead and continue with my circular parts. You can see they are matching, so even if I'm drawing my circles, I would know that okay, I have some extras. See, and because I measured my width, it is matching directly underneath, so I'm going to place it directly underneath, ensuring that there is space to accommodate my allowance. So just see as I am just doing it. So I am just being careful and arranging. After I am done, I continued with the same process of taking the circle, like the circle part. So I continued like that. I'll be taking it from that end till I reach the part where the fabric ran short. So now we can see that we've already been able to achieve the flay part. We've achieved it completely, and we still have some extras. So what I'll be doing now is just to cut it off. I'll be cutting off the part. So the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do now is to take my crotch depth. So I went ahead to divide my waist measurement by 4. Then I added like 3 inches extra, because I'll be using half inch to sew. So I just took my measurement divided by 4 and 3 inches extra. Then after marking it, I divided my crotch depth by 4 to get my crotch extension. Got around 2.5, which I just marked at that point. Then I went ahead to curve out the crotch area of my palazzo trouser. So after that was done, I took my measuring tape and took sewing allowance of like 1.5 inch down. I took it from that crotch part to the bottom of the trouser, and I'm just going to connect it together like that. So after that was done, I just went ahead to cut out the flay of the palazzo trouser. After cutting the area which I marked my crotch, I just went ahead to change it to become my back crotch. I wanted it to be my front crotch initially, but I just changed it to become my back crotch. And just what I did was just to add extra half inch, but I'll advise you add like extra 1 inch so it will turn to your back crotch, so it can accommodate the board. But since I was short of fabric, I just added extra half inch to it, and I just connected it. So at this area, I'll be taking my front crotch. So I just came down by my hip measurements divided by 4 plus 3 inches extra for my crotch length. Then for my crotch extension, I'll be dividing my hip measurement divided by 4 into 4, so I'll be getting like 2.5, which I just marked here. Okay, my hip measurement is 37, so I divided 37 by 4, that is 9.25. Then I now divided 9.25 by 4. I got 2.3, around 2.3 something, so I now marked 2.5 for my crotch extension. I hope you now understand. So I'll be taking the same 1.5 inch downwards, just like I did for the back side of the trouser. So now the next thing I'll be doing is to take my zip allowance. So I'm just going to come out by 1.5 inch. I'm just going to come out by 1.5 inch and take it down towards my crotch curve. So after that was done, I'm just going to go ahead to cut out the piece I'll be working with. So after cutting out, this is what you should be having. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to go ahead and cut out the front part of the dress. So what I did was to come in by 3 inches for my neck width, and I marked it there. Then I'm going to take my shoulder to nipple measurement and my half length, and I have already cut out the part that would serve as my allowance. So that's just my shoulder to nipple, my shoulder to on the bust, and then my allowance measurement now. So now I'm just going to go ahead to take my shoulder measurements. I took my shoulder measurements and then I marked it. Then I came down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope, and then I marked it. Then I took my chest line. From the 1 inch line, I came down by my bust measurement divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches, and then I marked. Then what I'm now going to do now is just to draw a straight line across. So after that was done, the first thing I did was to mark my bust measurement divided by 4 on my chest line, and then I marked. Then I also, on that same chest line, I just marked my shoulder measurements. Then I just drew a line to meet it from the top to the chest line, just marking it out so I can draw my armhole curve. After that, I connected my shoulder slope. So for my armhole curve, I just took what I had there divided by 2, then I marked it. Then I would come in by 0.5 inches. So after that was done, I am just going to connect the marks together. So on the chest line, I took my bust measurement divided by 4 plus 1.5 inch extra for sewing allowance. Then I now came down to the waistline and took my waist measurement divided by 4 plus 1.5 inch extra. After that was done, I just connected the lines together and then cut out. Before cutting out, I came in by my nipple to nipple measurement on the under bust line. I'm also going to mark it on the bust line, and I will also mark it on the waistline so I can take my dart. So after marking it on my waistline, I came in by I just took 0.5 inches on both sides so I can connect my dart to my bust. So the first thing I did was just to connect the nipple to nipple measurement together with my ruler. Then I came down by 1 inch from my bust point. Then from that 1 inch now, I'll be connecting the 0.5 inch to where I want my dart to stop. So at the neckline, I came down by 2 inches because I'll be attaching a collar to the neck. I came down by 2 inches and I connected. When you're on a bigger side, you can come down by 3 inches to connect, and it depends on how high or low you want your neck to be. So what I'll be doing now is to cut it out. I'll be cutting out the piece I'll be working with. Then I've already gone ahead to cut out what I'll be using for the back of the dress, the amount of fabric I'll be using for the back of the dress. I've drawn out my shoulder, my chest line, my bust line, my under bust, and then my half length. They're all marked out with my zipper allowance of 1.5. Then what I'll just be doing is basically just placing the front of the fabric on the back. I'll just be placing it there, and then after I see that it has aligned, I am just going to go ahead and cut. Just place it properly and then cut. So to eliminate the zipper board, you're just going to go in by 0.5 from the waistline, then connect it down and also connect it up. Then you just go ahead to cut. So the next thing we'll be doing is to cut the sleeve. I've already cut out the fabric I'll be needing for my sleeve length with extra 2-inch allowance. Then I've already cut it out. So what I will now be doing is I'll mark 5 inches down from the starting point. I'll mark 5 inches down, then I will go in by 4 inches. After I went in by 4 inches, I went up and marked 4 inches again. So after that was done, I'll ensure that my ruler is straight, my measuring tape is straight. Then I will take half of what I have there. So at that point, I am now going to come down by that 5 inches I've marked, which is my biceps line, to take my biceps measurements divided by 2 plus 1.5. Then at the end of the material, I am just going to mark my sleeve round measurements divided by 2 and 1.5. So I am just basically going to make my armhole curve. So now I'm just connecting the lines together. Afterwards, I went ahead to measure to see that it was aligning with my armhole curve, like it's going to be enough. So the next thing I'll be doing is just to cut it out. After cutting, I went ahead to make a notch. So that's just basically all for the sleeve. So the next thing I'll be doing is just to open up my lining and cut my lining piece for both the upper part of the front and the back. So for the front part, we're just going to ensure that it is on a fold. We'll be cutting the lining on a fold. So that will be all for the cutting part of the dress. The next tutorial I'll be uploading will be the sewing part of the dress. I don't want this video to be too long, so I just had to divide it into two. So thank you for watching. Do well to subscribe.